As humanity settled into its newfound position within the Galactic Britannian Senate, they began expanding their reach beyond the Sol system. The newly acquired FTL technology was rapidly integrated into humanity's fleets, leading to the establishment of outposts and colonies in unclaimed systems. These expansions were not without their challenges, as many of these systems were located on the fringes of space, where lawlessness and piracy ran rampant. Human mercenary groups, many of whom were veterans of the Rujakli War, found lucrative work protecting these new territories. This period of expansion marked a new era for humanity, one of exploration and growth, yet always with an eye towards defense and readiness. The fear of another invasion, though now unlikely, lingered in the back of humanity's collective mind. However, this time, they would be ready, their fleets equipped with the knowledge and experience gained from the bloodshed of the past decade. The Senate, while welcoming humanity's contributions, grew wary of their rapid expansion. The speed at which humans were settling new worlds, coupled with their impressive military might, led to whispered concerns of human dominance. This was further exacerbated by humanity's unique approach to diplomacy. Unlike many factions, which often sought to impose their will through coercion or threat, humanity extended offers of mutual defense and trade, gaining allies not through fear, but through cooperation. The fired Keldane, in particular, became staunch allies, admiring humanity's ability to balance strength with diplomacy. Together, they spearheaded joint operations to stabilize the Outer Rim regions, driving back pirate factions and bringing order to previously lawless systems. This alliance, however, was not without its detractors, as some Senate factions viewed it as a precursor to a new power bloc that could challenge the established order. Despite the overall peace, tensions simmered beneath the surface. The Rujakli, now a shadow of their former selves, harbored deep resentment towards humanity. The terms of their probationary membership in the Senate were harsh, leaving them with limited military capabilities and a heavily monitored economy. The memory of their defeat was still fresh, and many within the Rujakli leadership bided their time, waiting for an opportunity to regain their former glory. They quietly began rebuilding their strength, focusing on unconventional warfare and espionage. The Rujakli were particularly interested in sabotaging humanity's expanding trade routes, seeking to destabilize their economy and erode their influence. These clandestine efforts, however, did not go unnoticed. Humanity's intelligence networks, bolstered by their new allies, began picking up on these activities, leading to a quiet but intense shadow war in the darker corners of the galaxy. As humanity navigated these new challenges, their internal society began to evolve as well. The scars of the Rujakli War had left a profound impact on the human psyche. While the war had united humanity in a way that had not been seen since the early 21st century, it also brought forth a new wave of militarism and nationalism. The stories of heroism and sacrifice were immortalized in countless monuments and cultural works, but there was also a growing movement that questioned the cost of such wars. Veterans, hailed as heroes, struggled with the psychological toll of their experiences, and while the government provided for them, a cultural rift began to form. Some factions within humanity advocated for a more isolationist approach, arguing that they had done their part in the galaxy's affairs. Others pushed for continued expansion and involvement in galactic politics, believing that humanity's destiny was to lead by example. The Senate, aware of these internal human dynamics, sought to capitalize on them. Aware that a divided humanity would be easier to manage, certain factions began subtly influencing these internal debates, providing support to isolationist movements while also stoking fears of external threats. The Rujakli, too, played their part, using their espionage networks to exacerbate these divisions, hoping to weaken humanity from within. However, they underestimated the resilience of the human spirit. The Senate's attempts to manipulate human politics only served to unify the more moderate factions, who saw through the ploy and called for a renewed focus on unity and cooperation. This movement was bolstered by the older generation of war veterans, who, despite their struggles, remembered the devastation of the Rujakli War and were determined to ensure that humanity did not fall into internal strife again. In response to these internal and external pressures, humanity's leadership initiated a series of reforms aimed at strengthening both their military and diplomatic presence in the galaxy. They expanded their intelligence operations, infiltrating the Senate and other factions with skilled operatives who worked to counteract espionage efforts against them. Simultaneously, they launched a diplomatic campaign, reaffirming their commitment to peace and cooperation, while making it clear that any attempt to undermine their unity would be met with swift and decisive action. This dual approach of strength and diplomacy paid off. The Senate, realizing that humanity was not to be trifled with, began to back off from their subtle manipulations, while the Rujakli found their espionage efforts increasingly thwarted. In a bold move, humanity also proposed the formation of a Galactic Security Council, a body within the Senate dedicated to maintaining peace and preventing the kind of wars that had plagued the galaxy in the past. The proposal for a Galactic Security Council was met with mixed reactions. Some factions saw it as a power grab by humanity, while others recognized the potential benefits of a more structured and cooperative approach to galactic security. After months of intense debate, the proposal was finally approved, with humanity and the fired Keldane taking prominent roles in its formation. The Council's first order of business was to address the ongoing pirate threats in the Outer Rim. This operation, spearheaded by human and fired Keldane forces, was a resounding success, significantly reducing pirate activity and bringing much-needed stability to the region. The success of this operation bolstered the Council's credibility and demonstrated the effectiveness of collective security efforts. However, it also solidified humanity's position as a leading military and diplomatic power, further intensifying the concerns of those who feared their growing influence. While the formation of the Galactic Security Council marked a significant milestone, it also set the stage for new conflicts. The Rujakli, despite their weakened state, continued to plot their revenge. They forged secret alliances with other discontented factions, pooling resources to rebuild their fleets and develop new technologies that could counter humanity's military superiority. These efforts culminated in the development of a new type of weapon, one that could bypass the kinetic shields that humanity had relied on so effectively. The Rujakli, now more cunning and desperate than ever, planned a series of coordinated strikes aimed at crippling humanity's defenses and reclaiming their lost territories. As these plans took shape, the galaxy stood on the brink of another devastating conflict. However, humanity, ever vigilant, had begun to suspect that the Rujakli were up to something. Their intelligence networks worked tirelessly to uncover the details of this new threat, preparing for the storm that was about to break. When the Rujakli finally launched their surprise offensive, it was with a ferocity and coordination that took many by surprise. Multiple human outposts and fleets were attacked simultaneously, with the new Rujakli weapons proving devastatingly effective. Entire squadrons were wiped out before they could even react, and for a moment it seemed as though humanity was on the back foot. However, the Rujakli had underestimated humanity's adaptability. Within days, human engineers and scientists had begun developing countermeasures to the new weapons, while the military command swiftly reorganized their forces to better respond to the Rujakli tactics. The Senate, now fully aware of the Rujakli's ambitions, was forced to act. Under pressure from both humanity and other factions who feared the return of full-scale war, the Senate authorized a massive joint operation to crush the Rujakli offensive and bring an end to their ambitions once and for all. The final battle of this conflict, known as the Battle of the Twin Suns, was a defining moment in galactic history. Located in a binary star system on the edge of Rujakli space, this battle saw the full might of the Galactic Security Council brought to bear against the Rujakli forces. Humanity, leading the charge, deployed their most advanced fleets, now equipped with the countermeasures developed in response to the Rujakli's new weapons. The battle was brutal and intense, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, humanity's superior tactics, combined with the support of their allies, ultimately turned the tide. The Rujakli fleet was decimated, their new weapons rendered ineffective by humanity's rapid adaptations. In the aftermath of the battle, the Rujakli were left with no choice but to surrender unconditionally. This marked the true end of the Third Rujakli War, solidifying humanity's place as a dominant force in the galaxy and ushering in a new era of peace and cooperation. With the Third Rujakli War now over, the galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Galactic Security Council, under the leadership of humanity and the fired Keldane, quickly moved to stabilize the newly conquered Rujakli territories. Rather than exploiting these regions, humanity insisted on a policy of reconstruction and reconciliation. The devastated Rujakli worlds were rebuilt, and their people were offered a chance to integrate into the broader galactic community under fair terms. This unexpected act of mercy earned humanity a degree of respect from even their former enemies. However, not all were content with this approach. Some factions, still wary of humanity's growing influence, saw this as a calculated move to garner loyalty from the Rujakli and further cement humanity's power within the Senate. Despite these suspicions, the policy of reconstruction proceeded, gradually transforming war-torn worlds into thriving centers of commerce and culture. As the Rujakli worlds began to recover, the Galactic Britannian Senate faced a new challenge: the integration of former Rujakli military leaders into the galactic fold. Many of these leaders, once sworn enemies of humanity, now found themselves in positions of power within the newly formed Rujakli Democratic Republic. The transition was not without its difficulties, as old grudges and fears still lingered. Humanity, however, took the lead in facilitating this integration, offering training programs for former Rujakli officers and even inviting some to serve as advisors in human military academies. This gesture, while controversial, was seen by many as a necessary step towards lasting peace. The Senate, recognizing the importance of this integration, established a special commission to oversee the process, ensuring that the Rujakli military would never again pose a threat to galactic stability. Yet the seeds of resentment were still there, waiting for an opportune moment to sprout. While the galaxy was adjusting to the new balance of power, humanity's own society continued to evolve. The war had left a lasting impact on human culture, with stories of heroism and sacrifice becoming central to the identity of this new interstellar civilization. Museums, monuments, and holidays commemorated the war, ensuring that future generations would never forget the price of peace. However, there was also a growing movement within humanity that advocated for a shift away from military focus. These voices, often veterans of the war themselves, called for a return to exploration, scientific discovery, and diplomacy. They argued that humanity's strength lay not just in its military might, but in its ability to innovate and adapt. This movement gained traction, leading to increased funding for space exploration and research, and the establishment of new colonies in previously uncharted regions of the galaxy. The balance between war and peace, strength and compassion, became a defining characteristic of human civilization. As humanity pushed the boundaries of known space, they encountered new species and civilizations, some more advanced, others just beginning to reach for the stars. These encounters were met with a mix of curiosity and caution. Humanity, having learned from the Rujakli conflict, approached these new species with diplomacy first, offering alliances and trade rather than dominance. This strategy paid off, leading to the formation of several new alliances and the peaceful expansion of human influence. The Galactic Security Council played a crucial role in these interactions, serving as a mediator and ensuring that no faction exploited the less advanced species. This era of exploration and diplomacy, often referred to as the Golden Age of humanity, was marked by rapid technological advancements, cultural exchange, and the establishment of new trade routes that spanned the galaxy. Yet, as humanity grew in power and influence, so too did the challenges they faced. The most significant challenge during this Golden Age came from within. As humanity continued to expand, the question of governance became increasingly complex. The old systems of government, designed for a single planet, struggled to manage a vast interstellar empire. This led to the rise of new political movements, some advocating for a more centralized authority, while others called for greater autonomy for the colonies. The debate over centralization versus autonomy became the defining political issue of the time, with both sides fiercely contesting their vision for humanity's future. The centralization advocates argued that a strong, unified government was necessary to maintain order and respond to external threats, while the autonomy supporters believed that the diverse needs of the colonies could only be met through decentralized governance. This political struggle threatened to tear humanity apart, as colonies began to question their loyalty to a distant Earth government. Amidst this political turmoil, a new threat began to emerge from the shadows. A secretive faction, composed of disillusioned elements from various species, began to orchestrate a series of attacks across the galaxy. Their goal was to destabilize the existing order and create chaos, from which they could build a new galactic order based on their twisted ideals. They targeted key infrastructure, assassinated political leaders, and spread propaganda to sow distrust between factions. This group, calling themselves the Voidborn, believed that the galaxy needed to be purged of its weaknesses, and they saw humanity as both the greatest threat and the ultimate prize. As their attacks grew bolder, the Galactic Security Council was forced to act. Humanity, once again at the forefront, led the charge against this new enemy, deploying their elite forces to track down and eliminate Voidborn cells. the hunt for the Voidborn would become one of the most challenging and dangerous missions humanity had ever undertaken. The battle against the Voidborn was unlike any humanity had faced before. The Voidborn operated in the shadows, using advanced cloaking technology and subterfuge to carry out their attacks. They infiltrated key institutions, turning allies against each other and spreading fear across the galaxy. Humanity's intelligence networks, already stretched thin, were put to the test as they sought to uncover the true extent of the Voidborn threat. The Senate, initially slow to react, was eventually forced to grant emergency powers to the Galactic Security Council, allowing them to operate with unprecedented authority. This decision was not without controversy, as many feared that such power could lead to tyranny. Humanity, however, remained steadfast, balancing the need for security with their commitment to freedom and justice. The campaign against the Voidborn was long and grueling, with victories often coming at a high cost. But slowly, the tide began to turn, as humanity and their allies rooted out the Voidborn, one cell at a time. The final confrontation with the Voidborn took place on a distant, desolate world on the edge of the galaxy. Here, the Voidborn had established their hidden stronghold, from which they coordinated their attacks. The Galactic Security Council, now fully mobilized, launched a massive assault on the stronghold, led by humanity's most elite forces. The battle was fierce, with the Voidborn using every trick at their disposal to repel the attackers. But humanity's resolve was unbreakable. After hours of brutal combat, the stronghold was breached, and the Voidborn leadership was captured or killed. The victory was hard-won, and the cost was high, but the threat of the Voidborn was finally ended. The galaxy, though scarred, began to heal from the wounds inflicted by this insidious enemy. Humanity once again emerged as the galaxy's defender, their reputation as the deadliest and most honorable warriors reaffirmed. In the aftermath of the Voidborn conflict, the galaxy entered a period of reflection. The Galactic Security Council, now seen as an essential institution, began to draft new policies aimed at preventing the rise of such threats in the future. Humanity, having borne the brunt of the conflict, was both praised and scrutinized. While many lauded their bravery and sacrifice, others questioned the centralization of power and the potential for abuse. In response, humanity proposed a series of reforms within the Council, aimed at ensuring transparency and accountability. These reforms were accepted by the Senate, leading to a new era of governance that balanced the need for security with the preservation of individual freedoms. The experience of the Voidborn War had taught the galaxy a harsh lesson about the dangers of extremism, and it was a lesson that would not soon be forgotten. 150 years after humanity first encountered the Rujakli, the galaxy had been transformed. The once remote Sol system was now a hub of culture, commerce, and diplomacy. Humanity had not only secured its place among the stars, but had also helped to shape a new galactic order, one built on the principles of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared prosperity. The Galactic Britannian Senate, now fully inclusive of all major factions, had become a beacon of peace and stability in the galaxy. Humanity, though still a formidable military power, had embraced a role as peacemakers and diplomats, guiding the galaxy through times of crisis and ensuring that the horrors of the past were not repeated. The legacy of the wars and conflicts that had defined their early years in the galaxy had not been forgotten, but rather, they had been woven into the fabric of a new era, an era of hope, progress, and unity among the stars. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. For every comment that says we will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.